Welcome back everyone, I've got a trade fire, I've got a massive trade fire. We're off down Paul Linford's. He's got an ultra rare Japanese touring car. It's actually for sale as well. So if you want something to invest in, it's probably not a bad investment. You like sit on a Friday night with your beer and that and just enjoy it and take stuff in. Or you can go racing in it. We're here. Hello mate. God, that's a massive old bit of pipe on that mine, isn't it?
Yeah, it's on a comb there though. Look, to drop it back down to correct size.
That's like me toilet waste pipe on the house, that.
It's probably what it is.
How come they've got just sticker headlights and Paul on this?
It's a cheat, you're not supposed to have them.
So are there genuine headlights behind it?
No, there's no behind it.
Just is that an aluminium plate?
It's just a piece of board with a vinyl on it.
Oh,
they're good though, aren't they? Because they look like real headlights.
They won't race like that though, will they?
It won't have done in period, no.
Is there a reason why it's like that now?
Yeah, because they couldn't get headlights in Australia.
Is that what it is?
Yeah. I would assume that's why it's been done. Plus it takes a bit of weight out of the car as well, you see. But in theory, that is illegal, that.
None of the other cars are like that, are they?
No.
Just this one?
They tend to do it in Australia. Because DJR6, he races that and he's got LED headlights about that big in it.
Aye.
Just so he's got headlights in so he can see at night. And he got pulled up on it. Somebody grassed him and he got pulled on. They said he had to put headlights back in.
Right, shall we do it? I'll check this camper part, then we'll do it.
Shall I put this back down?
Aye. I will pull back down. You ready?
Yep.
Right fellas, I'm here with Paul. A lot of you might recognise him from some other videos what we've done. We've done some pretty cool videos down here looking around Paul's place. He's got some special cars.
Yeah, we've done a few now, haven't we? To be fair.
This is the fourth.
Is that what it is?
I'll leave a link to the other videos if you want to check them out after this one. But we've came down to see this car. This is a Andy Rouse.
It is, yeah. It's an original Andy Rouse built car, number 7 of 1988. So the good thing with this car is Andy obviously started with the XR4Is in 86, 85 and 86 as like an employee for Ford to develop the Sierras for racing. So by the time he'd built this car in 88, he'd done a lot of the development work, ironed out a lot of the problems, and so this was quite a good spec car by the time it was built, you know, back in 88. You know, they evolved quite a lot after 88, but it was still a good car in its day, was this. Yeah.
What year was this? Did you see it? 87?
88 is this. It's number 7 car of 1988.
So this came out as a RS500. This will never run a T3 turbo or anything like that?
No, this was built as an RS500.
RS500.
Yeah, yeah.
Did it come with that aluminium cage?
It did, yeah.
So it had the cage replaced?
Yeah, this car was restored. Well, restored as in not restored to make it look pretty. Well, in England, in the British touring cars and European, all the early cars had aluminium roll cages in, as this car did. It was built with an aluminium cage in it, so that means it must have actually, in theory, probably been... Oh no, it was 88 when was the last year you could run an aluminium cage.
Right.
End of 88, the rules were changed and you had to update to 89. But that was in like British touring cars and some of the other countries did the same, but everybody had their own sort of rule changes at different times. So this car was built with an aluminium cage in originally, and went straight out to Japan. It was never raced in the UK.
Was it not?
No, it was built and shipped straight to Japan for the Japanese touring car series with the alley cage in it, but they were allowed to carry on with aluminium cages.
Right.
So this car kept its original aluminium roll cage in it right up to it being shipped into Australia. I'm trying to think now, about 2012. I'm sure it was circa then when Chris Bowden of the Bowden family, who was a very, very well-known and respected family in Australia. They have a massive collection of original race cars from all different eras, different periods. But Chris does a lot of racing, and I think Chris bought this car. He liked it, he'd seen it, he bought it and shipped it over to Australia. And Chris raced it for a year as it was, as the original car as it was built. But then in 2013, the car was sold to a friend of the Bowden's family, Duncan McKellar. And Duncan wanted to race the car in the historic series in Australia. And because obviously this car hadn't been raced for so many years, what a lot of people like to do is strip them right back and check everything, you know, crack test all the aluminium components. Right. Just basically strip it, check everything, put it back together, place bearings, place Rouse joints, rebuild brakes, blah, blah, blah. And while it was stripped, the car was pretty mint as it was anyway. It looked lovely when Chris had it, but I think Duncan wanted to get rid of the aluminium cage because obviously they're not allowed to run them in Australia anymore, same as we're not. So I think while the cage was out, I think Duncan thought, well, I might as well just give it a fresh coat of paint and make it look nice. So he'd had the steel cage put in it, updated everything safety-wise, and then the car was completely repainted inside, underneath, put it on a rotisserie and completely restored the car. Made a nice job of it.
It looks lovely, looks really nice. I'll be honest, I've never really seen this livery till I came down here and I seen it.
No, not a lot of people sort of recognise the Japanese cars really. We tend to follow the British cars, the Australian touring cars and the European. We forget that they raced in Italy, you know, just about every corner of the globe really, you know, they race these Group A cars. But if you watch, there's quite a lot of YouTube videos of the JTCC, the Japanese touring car, and this car is on it all the time.
Is it?
Yeah, it was quite a successful car in its day really. It had, I've got some results written down here because my memory's not like it was, do you know what I mean? And I'll only tell you a load of rubbish if I didn't write it down. In 88, round 4, it got a second place. 88, round 5, first place. Lowest qualifying result was 6th in 1988, so you know the lowest was a 6, so it was always up there. 89, round 1, first place. Lowest qualifying was 3rd in the 89 season. 1990, a 3rd, with probably the most well-known driver for this car, which was Jeff Krosnoff.
Right.
An American he was. Unfortunately, Jeff was killed in 1996 in Toronto in an Indy car, and sadly only aged 31. Open wheel racing, probably the most dangerous of them all, isn't it? Just had a little touch with somebody and it unfortunately destroyed the car and killed him outright and killed a marshal. I think someone hit the marshal on the head and killed him outright. Quite sad because I think by what I've read he was sort of new to the IndyCar scene but was quite good, you know, good driver, doing real well, and sadly got killed early in his career. Because he used to race this car out in Japan, did Jeff, with Chris Hodgetts, who was well known in England. Chris was the 1986 and 1987 touring car champion in a Toyota Corolla. But Chris then, through the years, he moved on and drove the Brooklands RS500. So he's, you know, we know him more for that than anything. But Chris has been around for many, many years, a very successful driver. But he was good friends with Jeff and speak very, very highly of him, as a lot of people did. You know, everybody that knew him said he was a lovely bloke, good talent, yeah, a nice fella. So
shame.
So sad.
Unfortunately, it's part of the game, wasn't it? If you go,
I think any motorsport in it, you know, every time you step into one, there's that risk, isn't there? You know, and anything can happen. But it's a shame at age 31. But you know, big name. This car's had some drivers. Now you'll have to forgive me here because
some of the names.
I struggle with British names, let alone everybody else. Now, I don't speak Japanese. Naoki Nagasaka.
Right.
If that's pronounced right, if not, I apologise. From Japan. Mariso Sala. Again, if that's spelled right, I don't know. Oh, it's pronounced right, sorry, from Brazil. Now, we've got a Swedish name here that I'm not even going to attempt to say that, because sorry to all the Swedes, but that's just way out of my vocabulary. And then Mario Martini, an Italian, and then obviously Jeff. So it's had some yes, a lot of good top drivers have driven this car.
How would you pronounce a sponsor? Is that another one, is it?
Well, it's actually written on my paperwork here, Suntech Shimizu. Yeah, I don't know, yeah, because it doesn't read as it actually is. They've joined the letters together, but I don't know. We call it the Dunlop car. That's what it's affectionately known as.
This is known as a Dunlop car.
Yeah, that was the main sponsor for the car. I think the team was the Suntech Shimizu Corporation, but Dunlop was the major sponsor for the car. So, us being British, we just call it the Dunlop car. It's easier, isn't it? But this car has only ever raced in this livery. It's never ever been changed,
really?
ever. It's only ever in this livery. Because as you know from previous videos, most of the cars
chop and change.
Yeah, a lot of people don't realise that car became that car and then became that car.
Well, I didn't know that. I started doing the videos. I'm like learning as I go, do you know what I mean, Paul?
Yeah.
I find a lot of cars of, like your Texaco car was also a Louis car.
Texaco and Louis, the DJR car was DJR, then Rob Gravitt's cartel car. The recent video you've done with Rupert, his car was the Calibre car, then the mobile one. So it's rare that a car ever stays in one livery, and this has stayed in this livery all its life, and even the numbers on it, I've got that noted as well. Through all of 1988, it only ever raced as number 3 or number 30. And
Three or what, 30?
3 or 30.
Right.
Then it was number 13 for the whole of 89 and the 1990 season. So it's always had a 3 in it somewhere. Probably lucky for Japanese, that one. But again, most cars change numbers, change liveries. So when Chris Bowden, who bought this car originally, he noted that tracing this car's history was quite easy, really, compared to most cars, because it'd always been in this livery, always maintained the same sort of numbers thereabouts, so it was quite easy to track it, really, which is a bit of a bonus.
It's lovely. I like the livery, I really do.
I like it, yeah. I think it's one of them that not a lot of people sort of recognise straight off the bat.
No, I'll be honest, like, it's not one that stood out to me, but I like it.
I like it, yeah. It stands out. It looks beautiful on track. You know, when you see it out there, it doesn't have pop with it being yellow.
I bet.
And the wheels, you know, most people prefer the BBS wheels or the Ronalds, like my Louis car and that's got, but I don't know.
I like them, the 6 spokes.
I don't mind them. I think they're quite nice.
No, they're nice.
Yeah. And they suit that car, don't they? They suit the livery.
Do you ever just play about and put different wheels on your cars? And
no.
Do you know?
No. I'm a sucker for originality. Yeah, I like them. This car ran with these wheels in period, the same wheels but in white. There is a couple of shots of it on YouTube running the BBS wheels as well. So I think these were its main wheel, but obviously they have that many spares in period. They'll have just had stacks of different wheels with different tyres on it.
Are the magnesium wheels, are they?
There will be, yeah. Just adds to its, you know, sort of identity, doesn't it, as well? It's another thing where when you watch it on the YouTube, it stands out so well because of the wheels on it.
It's got 2 different wing mirrors.
Yeah, that was period. It was like that as well.
Was it?
Yeah, that one's a solid fixed mirror, but that one you can move it.
It's like an M3 mirror, that, isn't it? Maybe that's where they got the design for.
A lot of the Japanese cars had that mirror.
Would this be about the same kind of brake horsepower as all the other Andy Rouse cars, like 550-ish?
Exactly, yeah, 550. Now, the funny thing with this car is, and Chris Bowden mentioned it when he did his research on this car in Japan, this car seemed to take off like a scolded rat.
Did it?
Honestly, when you watch the videos, which I'll send you a link to so you can put them on for people to see, it just seemed to absolutely take off the line like a rocket and just leave everything for dead. And as we mentioned earlier, it always seemed to qualify right up the scale, really. What we saw, but it didn't really finish that many races. It tended to blow up.
Did it?
Or break down after maybe 30, 40 laps. It was not very reliable. And what we sort of assume really is that we think they were probably, as all teams did, you have a qualifying power setting where you want your best qualifying time. So they either swap engines and put a qualifying engine in and run flat out boost because they only need to do 2 or 3 laps. You'd get the impression with this car that they were running it on qualifying because, you know, I mean, this car, particularly in the 80, 88, 89 races, probably even later, you see it run against Cloud Needsvits in ANZ works Eggenberger car. And then one of the best cars there was. This thing left you for dead,
just
you know,
just
offline, gone, you know, and you're thinking, well, I wonder if Klaus is just playing, you know, biding his time, saving his tyres and things like that. And this just seemed to absolutely fly and miles in front of everything else, and was just kept its position, kept in front until something goes wrong with it. So you sort of think, with it forgetting to turn that boost down a little bit. But in answer to your question, it will have been 550, somewhere around that.
You were saying it's also got a slightly different cage to the Andy Rouse cars, hasn't it? Inside, it's got some extra.
Yeah, it has.
Should we open the door? We'll have a look.
Yeah, I've never really seen this before. Yeah, apart from the obvious, I say modern cage, it's a historic recreation cage, but it is a modern standard specification cage, is this one. But all that you see inside, you see all these little tubes, bars that go from the turret mounts at the back, yeah, down to the floor and then to the floor here. I've never ever seen these before on any Group A car. I've never seen it.
Never.
If I'm being 100% honest, I can only assume that they're like a strengthener for the shell, just like a little additional strengthener for shell, but I think they're quite trick. They're quite cool. You know, they're different. I can see the purpose in them. I can see what they might do. And the car's the same underneath. It's got a similar sort of setup from the rear beam up to the floor. It's got it from the anti-roll bar mounts on the front chassis rails across. It's got them everywhere. And it's quite unique, because I say I've never seen it on any other Group A car. But obviously it was done in period, I can only assume, because all the footage you see of it, obviously you can't see inside the car, but I would imagine that's not been added later. I would think that was probably a period thing. Just again, a nice little thing.
Little quirk.
Yeah, because all these cars do. We were talking earlier, weren't we, about how you identify these cars, and over years I'm lucky that I can look at a car and sort of have a fairly good idea of who built it and what sort of period it was built in by manufacturers' little quirks. Like the Rouse cars are quite easy to spot, to be fair, because you've got the cutouts in the wings here, both sides. These recesses where they're really neatly cut out and moved in. And that side you've got for your fire extinguisher and for your main battery cut off. And that they're there for, God forbid, if there's an accident and the driver's knocked out or whatever and the engine's still running, a marshal can come and pull both them cable. The electric one will kill the power to the car, so it will switch the engine off, kill all the fuel pumps, you know, so it can't burst into flames. And if it does fire, they can pull the other cable and that'll set the fire extinguisher off to hopefully, you know,
extinguish any fire.
Exactly. And then this side, it's got the same cutout in with the air jack lance in that side. So that's a Rouse thing. That was all Rouse cars you see have them recesses cut in the wings.
I noticed the fire extinguisher thing, it just looked like brake pipe with some tiny little holes in that would just spray the foam under the engine bay.
Yeah, that's right. Right? So it sprays it outwards.
Just a brake pipe, and is that all it is?
Yeah, they're either copper or all modern cars now. They have like an aluminium pipe,
right,
or a plastic pipe,
right.
But it's only a small pipe, because to be fair, these fire extinguishers in these cars, they're not really designed to put out a huge fire if the fuel tank explodes. They're mainly there to just try and give enough time for the driver to get out or be dragged out, and then the marshals will put the car out or the fire truck. But another one for Rouse cars is that there. You can see where they've cut the rear spoiler out to get to the the pins for the.
So is that the Andy Rouse thing? What you do?
All the Rouse cars are exactly the same like that, because you know, you see people, why is he cut boot spoiler? You know, but that's a 100% sort of Rouse thing that you can identify straight away. Silly things like the positioning of the fuel fillers. They're always in the same place on a Rouse car. They've always got the same 4 bolts in. The way he fits them, and then the metal is just rolled neatly.
Over.
Yeah, nicely.
It is a neat job, that.
Yeah, it's really neat. To say, you know, when they built these cars, there wasn't really a huge amount of finesse with them. It was get them built and get them racing. You know what I mean?
It was just a tool, wasn't it, really?
Exactly. But there's a lot of other things, but they're just a couple of easily identifiable things that show this car is a Rouse car. Obviously, other than the chassis number. But it does carry a proper Andy Rouse chassis number. If you look at the dash and everything that I know you've taken a lot of pictures of, all the switch panels are original. You know, you look at the switch panel there, you can see all the chips and scratches and marks on it, which is great. You know, it's 30 odd year old. It shows its signs of it being, yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Have a sit in?
Yeah, help yourself, yeah. If you can get in, because unfortunately the steering wheel don't detach on this
Does
car.
it not?
No, but you're all right, you're slim. I struggle to get in and out.
He says I've been putting on weight, mine. So. Oh, it's comfortable though.
Yeah, they all are, aren't they?
Nice
You
and
feel
snug.
This has got a couple of things I've not seen before as well. Look, it's got a knee protector there.
What's that, a knee protector?
Yeah, just so you can rest your, well, to stop your leg going over. And then there's the pipe there, look, coming under the dash to get the blown the cold air at you.
Is that all it is, just a cold air?
Yeah, because you imagine racing in Japan.
I'd be warm. So does that go to the heater box?
Yeah, it'll be to the blower under the bonnet, and it'll just suck cold air straight in and blow it straight in.
I thought I might have just had a feed from like somewhere and just...
Well, to be honest, I haven't even actually had a look. I'm pretty sure it'll go up to the blower box, just to blow, so you can get blown air rather than relying on the car moving to get the air.
What's his high-low one, Paul?
That'll be boost.
Boost?
Yeah.
Is that the emergency pull to kill your battery?
That's right, yeah. So you can kill it inside the car if you want.
Then your fire extinguisher?
That's your fire extinguisher with the foil on it, so you don't press it by accident and blow a lot of nice white powder in your face.
Would that have came with foil when the race? Then you just...
Yeah, once you push it,
right.
It's to stop you just sort of knocking it. Yeah. There's your bias adjuster there, which is, again, identifiable on all Rouse cars. They've all got that exact same little knob for your front and rear brake bias. So just another silly little thing that identifies them and makes it look original. Yeah, she's a great car, ready to go. I would love it myself. If I had the funds, I would love to buy this. And
another one, the collection.
But I would race this.
Would you?
Yeah, I would, yeah. And if this sells, I hope to see this out in series with us. I think if somebody's looking for one to buy and go race, I think this car's perfect, really.
If anyone's interested in buying it, what's the best? Just we'll leave your social media below that and just contact you?
Yeah, can do. Right. Yeah, if anybody's interested in it, it is up for sale at the moment, comes on the button ready to go. There's quite a lot of spares with it, you know, just trinkets to help you run the car, spare wheels, engine block, crank, bits and pieces. It's got the original aluminium roll cage with it, which obviously you never use, but it's just a nice thing to have. That you've got a period parts with the car. But yeah, it's a good car. I wish I had the money for one. If I carry on this YouTube, Paul, I might get a couple of viral videos. I might come down and pick one up. Another 6 months when you're rich and famous.
Can we start it up?
Of course you can, yeah. Do you want to give it a go?
Alright. I'll just check the cameras are still working.
You're becoming a bit of an expert starting these now, Adam, aren't you? So I shouldn't really have to tell you what to do now, should I?
I'm not going to just start pressing buttons. I wouldn't mind a bit.
And it's quite simple. You've got your...
Check it in, will I?
Yeah. There's your fuel pumps, your high pressure and your low pressure fuel pumps. So switch your ignition on.
This one?
That one. Yeah.
Middle?
Yep. That's it. Now flick both your pumps on, your high pressure and your low pressure pumps.
Both on?
Yep. You let them start to buzz. That's it. Press your start button.
Is that the starter motor?
Yeah, that's your starter. Fire that. Don't press your clutch because it's out of gear. No. Just press start button.
It's out of gear?
Yeah, press start button, and then when it starts to fire, just give it a little bit of throttle. Give it a few revs. Try it. typical. We know when we were talking about ways of identifying little things that can identify certain cars. There's a couple of things under the bonnet of this. That lovely little fabricated box there.
That's a nice bit of work, mate. Isn't
Yeah,
it?
just a nice, but that's a really easily recognised Rouse thing, is that all the Rouse cars had all the master cylinders for the front rear brakes and the clutch, all in a nice little fabricated aluminium box. And that one, you notice this huge air intake pipe.
It's massive, that.
Yeah, and then like there's a reducer there, because obviously you had to run regulations. It'll give you a specification of what the intake must be. So they were reduced, but all the Rouse cars had this big, massive, great intake pipe that, like you quite rightly said, looks like something you've just pulled out of your garden from your toilet waste pipe. But again, it's just such an easy thing to recognise, and little things like that bracket there. You'll see that bracket on every Rouse RS500.
Right.
A really nice little fabricated where you can just pull that pin out and heat shield, just, you know, to get the heat shield off real quick.
So there's all the strut brace in that original.
Yeah, again, it's quite
Andy Rouse strut brace.
No, that's not a Rouse strut brace. That, to me, I think looks like whoever's done the extra bars inside and underneath we talked about. I think whoever's done that has made this as well, because it's exactly the same, the way they nicely put the tubes, you know, that way, cut the tube in and weld it that way to get a bolt in. It's just, yeah, it matches all that inside. So I think that'll have been one of the things that whoever ran the car in period, they'll have done their own little touches to the car, which is quite common. Most people who ran them didn't like that or preferred that, so they change little bits and pieces.
It's an amazing car, like it really is. I really do like this one.
It's a great car, you know, and I can see why it did well in Australia, because it's got, you know, when you know what you're sort of looking at for these cars, everything's right about it. Like if you look at here, Adam, look at the wheel, look how far forward that wheel is at wheel arch. It's running loads of caster, you know, a real great load of caster, which will make it turn in a lot better, you know, a lot of negative camber on the front wheels. So I can imagine this car handles really, really well. You know, it'll have the same on the back. It's got quite a bit of camber, because obviously on the Group A cars, the back arms are completely adjustable caster camber, toe in, toe out. But it just, when you look at it, it just looks right. Do you know what I mean? It just, look how wide track it is as well at the front.
It sits mint the arches, doesn't it?
Yeah, the wheels sit right out, so it's got a good wide track at the front. So I can imagine it, as I keep saying, I bet it handles absolutely.
I would love to do that with my car, just chop all the arches and just get the wheels sitting right, filling it out.
That's the thing, when you look at all these Group A cars, there's no, you know, the arches are completely taken away, and all the body kit's completely removed to give you the clearance for such big wheels, because they are wide.
That's it, fellas. Thanks for watching. If you're interested in this car, I'll leave Paul's social media below. You can get in contact. I'll also leave Paul's social media below. Got a Facebook page now, haven't you, Paul?
We have, yeah.
Dedicated to like RS500s and stuff like that.
So yeah, if anyone's interested, they can give me a ring or message me and learn a bit about car. It's got all its original cams, FIA paperwork and that with it. So if you're interested, get in touch.
Perfect. I'll also leave my Instagram below. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you soon. Spot on, mate. Thank you. Thank you.